Last week, a new firmware came out, and today I want to show you how to use its biggest feature, the workshop. Thanks to the workshop, you can achieve perfect anti-recoil in under 5 minutes, and this tutorial works for both controllers and mouse players. In the background, you can already see some examples. It works with every game and is super easy to use. What I will show you today are the requirements for the workshop and how to use it. I will also show you how to handle really advanced weapon recoil. This is the second of 2 workshop videos. Today is about how to achieve a pixel-perfect workshop result and how to further tweak the outcome a little bit. If you want to know how to handle the aim assist slowdown, then I recommend to watch the first video. You can find a link to it in the video description. Today's video is also very useful for games which change the recoil the more you compensate it. Rainbow Six is one of these games. PUBG or Rust are also games which may require the tricks that I will show you today. So let's start with the requirements. First, install the new firmware and manager. You can find links to both of them in the video description. Since a lot has changed with the new firmware, I also recommend to read the new manual guide. You can find a link to it in the video description. In your configuration menu, you must make sure that your mouse runs on the same DPI as your config value. If you use different values, then the workshop won't work. You can use any DPI value, just make sure that your XIM and mouse use the same one. Next we have the in-game settings. Those must be identical to the settings shown in the XIM forum. Do not use any other settings. If you use the new native mouse and keyboard output, then verify that your mouse calibration is correct. Next, let's go into the button bindings. For the workshop to properly work, your role assignments at the bottom of the binding list must be correct. You can find them in the advanced settings. ADS and shooting must be bound to the correct triggers. After that, ensure that you do not have any aim SAB active. For accurate workshop results, set it to 0. You can later add it again after your workshop result is done. At last, disable all fire actions in your button bindings, except for the one you will use for the workshop. I only have one fire binding, which is my left mouse button. I will open that binding now, go into the Smart Action Manager at the bottom, and open the workshop in the top right. First, I must specify the amount of bullets, which is 31 in my case. After that, I will add the rounds per minute. For my weapon, it's 860. Either look up this value via Google, or check if your game displays this value somewhere. In the next step, we have the vertical modifier. This feature allows you to spread out the bullets a bit more, to better distinguish individual bullet holes. You can also use it to tighten the recoil pattern if the bullets are too far apart from each other. Don't worry about the modifier affecting your outcome. Your XIM will remove it from the final workshop result. I will click on Done and start to shoot 3 full magazines right next to each other. It is important that you do not move your character during the entire workshop process. Otherwise, the result will not be accurate. Once you are done, you can click the Trace button in the manager. Carefully aim into the first bullet hole and press your fire button. Then proceed to the next bullet hole and do the same. Continue to do this for all bullets. It doesn't matter where you aim in between the bullet holes. Your XIM will automatically calculate the distance between each bullet hole. Also make sure to always stay in the ADS mode while tracing bullets. Once you have reached the last bullet, confirm the result in the manager. Next, I will trace the second pattern, so I will press trace again in the manager. I will do that to improve the accuracy of the workshop result. Bullet randomization will slightly change the recoil with each magazine. By tracing several patterns, you will get a more accurate result because the randomization is being recorded as well. You can also trace 5 or more patterns if you want the most accurate results. I will speed up this process now and also trace the third magazine.
Once this is done, it is time to dial in the result. When I shoot the weapon now, you can see that the result is not great. This is because a lot of games reduce or increase the weapon recoil the more you compensate it. By changing the X and Y values, I can now adjust my workshop result. X changes the left and right direction and Y changes the up and down intensity. I will change those now until I get a result that I am happy with. For most games, this is all you need to do. You change the X and Y value until it's perfect. But for Rainbow Six, this doesn't work, because it changes the recoil the more you compensate it. So I will have to go the extra mile to achieve a perfect result. To do that, I will save the progress and exit the workshop. What I will do now is to add a second workshop. I will basically stack 2 workshops on top of each other for a more accurate result. This is required because the game changes the recoil the more I start to compensate for it. To do that, I must assign a group to the first workshop result. I will assign group F to it. Next, I will create a new button binding to toggle group F. I will bind it to a key that I haven't used yet. In my case, it will be key J. By pressing this key, I can activate and deactivate my first workshop result. Since I am a PS5 user, I cannot use the vertical modifier of the workshop to do the next trick. Instead, I must manually add a smart action that slightly spreads out my bullets again, so I can better trace them. I will use an upwards movement of 16 degrees per second. In general, I always recommend to stay as close to the wall as possible, so the bullet holes are easier to track. Use a high degree per second then to properly spread out the bullets. Xbox users can do the following too, or just use the vertical modifier instead. I will assign the same group to it, set it to ADS only, and also remove the variants. Overall, the following workaround is the better approach compared to the vertical modifier. The reason is that it doesn't rely on the game having a decent precision around the dead zone. Instead, this trick moves the recoil reduction into an area where the game usually offers more precision. Let me leave this menu and press my J key to activate my F group. Next, I will create a new binding with a second fire action. This will be my second workshop. I will enter the workshop and do the same steps as before. First, I will shoot 3 full magazines. As you can see, I have now a lot of recoil again. This allows me to track every individual bullet again. If you have too much recoil now, then use a lower value than 16. Before I can start tracing the bullets now, I must first press my J key. This will deactivate the first workshop and the bullet spread. The reason behind this is that these two will otherwise ruin my tracing results. Each time I trace a bullet hole, it would otherwise move my aim around. So let me press key J to deactivate it. The next steps are the same as before. I will track all 3 patterns and confirm each of them in the manager. It is the very same process as before. I will accelerate the video a bit. Once that is done, let's check the result. I will press my J key again to activate the previous workshop and the bullet spread. Again, it is a bit off because the game will continue to dynamically change the recoil. But this time I can make it perfect by changing the X and Y values. After a bit of tweaking, here is the final result. It's pretty much perfect now. I could make it even more accurate by adding a 3rd workshop, but I don't think that is necessary. There is one minor issue though. The workshop drags down my aim a bit too early. This is because the game needs some time before the first bullet is shot. I will solve that by accepting the result and add a wait action of 25 milliseconds at the start of the workshop. I will do this for the first workshop as well, and also remove the group assignments. The same has to be done for the bullet spreading.
Want me to get in there?
This weapon is done now. We have 3 smart actions to remove the entire recoil. Once you are done, save your workshop result and exit the menu. At last, if you want to save workshop results for several weapons in one configuration, then watch the following video. It will show you how to handle lots of weapons within one configuration by using groups. Each group will have its own workshop result.
So guys, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button or maybe even subscribe to this channel to not miss out on any of the upcoming videos. Also, contrary to popular belief, this channel is not an official XIM channel. I run this channel in my free time to bring you guys the latest XIM news and tricks. So if you want to support what I do, then maybe consider to join the YouTube channel membership. Channel members usually get around 1 to 4 weeks of early access to all new videos. Plus, we also have a nice little Discord to discuss XIM settings and other stuff. But that's about it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching and I will maybe see you in the next one.